relief checks. But I think there's a couple other things that we need to touch on prior to getting to that. If you are in an unfortunate situation, again, I'm praying for everybody. We will get through this together, using that love and hunkering down and just staying focused. And if you're a believer, praying your way through this. But we'll all get to that light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm not referencing the same light that someone else talked about. I'm just saying, once we get through this turbulent time, we'll be able to look back and say, I remember when. But first and foremost, if you have lost your job or been furloughed or your hours have dropped, which takes you from full-time to maybe part-time, first thing I would say, and again, I'm not a licensed financial advisor, I'm just a humble guy here on the internet just giving you my opinion, but what I would tell you to do is immediately reach out to the unemployment office. A lot of people have the misconception that you have to be completely fired or laid off in order for them to provide assistance, which is not true. If you're furloughed, or even in situations where there's a break in service, or involuntarily break in service, or maybe your hours have dropped below full-time, taking you from a full-time employee to a part-time employee, that changes your budget, that changes your income stream. Reach out, go ahead and apply. I know, last week alone, 3.3 million Americans, unfortunately, were having to apply for unemployment. And for me, we'll all get through this. But so the cause that had to the website was for the website to malfunction and essentially crash, because that's the highest in history. So that sheer volume of people applying at the same time caused some technical difficulties. So they shut it down, did some maintenance on it. But so it may be a scenario where you have to continue to try at different times throughout the day, or just continue to try consecutive back-to-back attempts. But continue to do it, and I would say that would be step number one. Now, moving past that, in order to receive the full stimulus check, which is $1,200 for a single adult, you have to make less than $75,000 a year. So if you make less than $75,000 a year, you will receive your full stimulus check or relief check of $1,200. In that scenario, and this is where I want to sort of slow down and talk through this. So if you have not, the default is going to be in terms of which tax year they use is just going to be your most recent tax year that you filed. So, for example, if you haven't filed your 2019 taxes yet, they're going to automatically go ahead and default to 2018. And whatever means of payment you chose for 2018, whether it be direct deposit or check mailed, they're going to go ahead and use that same information to get you your check. Regardless if what method you use, whether it was direct deposit or them mailing you a check if you received that there was payment due or amount due to you that was paid out to you, I highly encourage everybody to hop on the IRS.gov website. I will include the link in the description below, but I think that's essential because you always want to make sure that your address, your information on there is accurate. Regardless, technology is an amazing thing and it's beautiful when it works, but we never know. It's better safe than sorry, so make sure you get on there, make sure you double check to make sure your address is correct, it reflects correctly, or if you've moved, relocated, what have you, you want to go ahead and get on there as well. So either way, regardless what your scenario is, please hop on there. Again, I'll put the link in the description below. If it is incorrect, you need to go ahead and fill out an 8822, which is a change of address form, just to get that updated. And the sooner you do that, the better. So if you can pause the video and do it now, I would highly encourage you to do that, just to make sure that your information is correct, and you don't want to cause any delays or have any delays in this turbulent time with folks getting their money. So, and more specifically, you getting your money. So, with that said, now, again, as I mentioned, it's going to go with your most recent filed year in terms of taxes. So if you have yet to file in 2019, it'll default to 2018. Now there are some sort of scenarios that people should be aware of. If, say for example, in 2019, last year, you received a pay increase or a promotion that pushed you over that 75K benchmark, it may be, in that scenario, you may want to hold off and wait to file your taxes so that they can default and use the 2018 tax return or filings. So that way you qualify to get that full $1,200. Now, if your amount hasn't changed or your income hasn't changed or it's just going up a little bit and you still fall below that $75,000, it's up to you what you want to do. You can either wait. They have extended the due date on filing and payment from the 15th of April to the 15th of July. So you have that option, or vice versa. If you made over north of $75,000 in 2018, but this year you took the hit or you changed jobs and your income came down below that $75,000 threshold, you may want to go ahead and file.
So I did want to stop here really quickly and clarify those figures in terms of income. So for single individuals with no kids, as long as you make south of $75,000 a year, you will qualify to get the full relief check, which is $1,200. Anything north of 75,000 up to $99,000 per year for single individuals. They subtract for every $100 that you're north of 75 grand, they subtract $5. And for a married couple, you just double the math for the lowest and the highest. So for a married couple, anything south of 150 grand per year together, you'll qualify for the full refund. For a married couple, of course, it'll be two people, so it will be $2,400 that you receive. Now, if you're at 150K, anything north of 150K, they're still going to do the same thing and subtract $5 for every $100 that you're north of that, up to $198,000. So just wanted to clarify that. Painting this scenario, in the scenario that I'm showing now, say for example, for a single person who makes $85,000 a year with no kids, in that scenario, every $100 between 75,000 and 85,000, they're going to subtract $5. So in that instance, there are $100 bills, essentially. You can think of it like that, between 75,000 and 85,000 a year. So that's how that math falls out. So your check would be $700. So they would essentially subtract $500 from the original amount that you would have qualified for if you were south of 75 grand.
So they can use 2019's income, and that will allow you to get that full $1,200 relief check. In addition to that, it's just another opportunity also for you to ensure that your information is correct. So when they do send the checks out, you're good to go. Now, of course, it'll be $1,200 for a single adult. Married couples, you just double that. It's going to be $2,400 received, and $500 per qualified child. I was trying to look around for some, but I got to work on that. But so again, it's going to be a $1,200 check for a single adult with no kids. You're going to get $500 per qualified child, and then as couples, you would start with the $2,400 for the two adults, and then if you have children, $500 per child. So I think right now, I would say if you do not have your 3 to 6 months worth of emergency fund set up, your singular focus, and even if you do to an extent, your singular focus, in my humble opinion, and it's just my opinion, again, I'm not licensed, but in my opinion, your singular focus needs to be making sure food can be on the table, which is most important. Your bills and things of that nature, that falls to the wayside now if you're in a situation where you don't have the income coming in, that assistance hasn't come. Our biggest priority now, and you don't have your 3 to 6 months worth of emergency funds set up. Now you need to prioritize saving that money. Only buying your necessities. Stock up on food. Don't go overboard, because again, you want to be a good steward of it. So, and with that said, that may seem simple, but buying things that you can keep in the cabinet for a while, or maybe buying some things that you can turn into a couple of different meals. So, but just making sure you secure being able to keep the food on the table. Just bouncing back real quick, if you've already lost your job or have been furloughed or your hours have dropped tremendously or considerably, I also highly encourage to reach out immediately. Immediately. Reach out to your creditors, anybody that you owe money, and communicate the scenario and the situation and what's going on. There are a lot of debt collectors and companies that are being very flexible, understanding, the pandemic and what's going on at this time. There are a lot of people, unfortunately, losing jobs, being furloughed, or hours dropping considerably. A lot of medical emergencies coming up and things of that nature. So they're being flexible. I know, unfortunately, on average, the largest debt in the average household in America now is student loans. So that's also incorporated into the bill that passed, which is an amazing thing. In that bill, in that section, for all federal student loans, and this is for everybody across the board, at least the first portion of this is all interest stops immediately, and that's for 60 days. So it picks back up in 60 days. I think there's going to be a couple of rounds of this depending on how long it goes. Looks like government's already focusing on, down that road, that sort of short road, and seeing what other help is going to be needed. Another bill helping folks and extending that coverage. But as of right now, all federal loans, the interest has effectively stopped immediately, and that's not going to pick back up for another 60 days. So in other words, now, if you are in a situation where you don't quite have your budget, you don't have that 3 to 6 months worth of income, and you really need that to hold on to those funds because you can't necessarily afford to make that payment for your student loans, reach out to your student loan carrier. And student loan companies are doing different things. Some are extending payment out 2 months, some 6 months. I've seen a variety of different things, but reach out immediately. I think the only automatic thing in that is that the interest stops for 60 days, but the payment is still due. So with all credit cards, landlords, mortgage companies, whatever it is, you want to communicate absolutely now. Effective communication. The sooner you reach out, I think the more they are willing to help, understanding what's going on. But it also frees yourself up of those burdens, at least for now, and not having to worry about, I got to pay this, I got to pay that, I got to pay this, man, I still owe so-and-so. Communicate across the board, whether it's a cell phone bill, reach out to everybody and communicate the situation. For individuals, if you already have your 3 to 6 month worth of emergency fund and you've been on top of, the stewardship, people were asking me, actually a couple of people asked me even today, should I take advantage of not having to pay? Should I just call and say, oh no, I need to send my student loans into forbearance, and you're in a good position right now? For me, I say no. Continue to chip away at that debt. That's take and on top of that, take advantage of not having interest for 60 days. That means more of your payment is going towards the principal. So I think in that scenario, if you're financially, you have the appropriate levels of financial strength and stewardship, there's no reason for you to stop paying. I think at a certain point, I wouldn't pass judgment on you if you did, but for me, looking long term, it's still a debt that you owe. So in your scenario, I would highly encourage you continue to pay on those student loans. And again, your money's going to go a lot further now because for the next 60 days, there's no interest. So you're just making those principal payments, which is a beautiful thing. I wish it would stay like that, but we all know that's definitely not going to be the case. So again, as you receive your stimulus checks, your singular focus has to be what the household is doing. Meaning, we need to make sure, or I need to make sure I can feed myself or my family, or we as a couple, if you're married, or if you have just a significant other, girlfriend, boyfriend, what have you, we need to make sure that we can maintain food on the table, because the thing is, nobody knows exactly what's gonna happen and how long this is gonna take. So you want to take care of that main priority, food and water, right? But anything else sort of falls to the wayside. If you can afford to make the payments and you have your emergency fund set up, great. But for me, in this trying time, and the key word is just uncertainty. No one knows exactly what's going to happen, how long it's going to take. So guys, and use that first relief check to secure the essentials, food and water, but save as much of that, every penny you can. You have to, here's a great time for households to come together, or even if you're a single person, to really focus on, you know what, it's time to make a change. As I spoke about in a couple other videos, but even with the video I did with my sister, Tiffany walked with me. I'll set that link in the description as well. In that video, the title of it is Money Matters. Again, unfortunately, it sometimes takes the worst to happen for people to really realize what they're doing and realize their ways. And as Dave Ramsey says, again, when the tide goes out, you can tell who's been skinny dipping. And this is definitely not a time for I told you so, because nobody could have predicted this. But what we do know, and what this is sort of driven home outside of many other things, how precious life is, how short life can be, and how sensitive our lives and the individuals around us that we love, that relationship can be, and how precious they are. Among all of those and many others is stewardship. It's going to rain. Something's going to happen. You could lose your job. A medical emergency comes up, or a car accident. We never know what's going on. So you want to continue, if you've already been doing it, to practice that good stewardship. But if you haven't, there's no better time than right now. But that's going to cause you to, one, get on a budget. And again, I created my own. I just hopped on the Excel spreadsheet and created my own budget. But again, you can just Google, free budgets. There's tons of them out there, all kinds of templates. But right now is the perfect time. And oh, by the way, a lot of people have a little bit more extra time in terms of us having to stay home. People have that extra time, so focus in, get yourself on a budget. But once you set up your budget, really look at that budget and see what you can do to cut back. Do you have to have cable? Or can we say there's tons of apps and whatnot. Fire Stick, you can use a Fire Stick, but in combination with maybe Netflix or what have you. Look at things you can do to sort of trim your budget and trim debt, trim what you have going out, so that you can maximize what you can keep. Because again, it's not what you make, it's what you can keep, right? But now is a great opportunity and time for everybody across the world, no matter what country you're in, I don't care what the currency is, to really hone in and change what it is that we're doing. If you've been practicing great stewardship, that's awesome. Then I would encourage you to look at ways to grow that money. And if you're in a situation where, like I mentioned, the relief checks, if you're in a situation where you're strong and secure financially, you've got your 3 to 6 months worth of emergency funds set up, you may look to put that money in a high yield savings account. I know Allied Bank, and there's a lot of other lending banking institutions that you can look at, but for a high yield savings account. Me, I trust my my banking institution, so I'll just maintain it there. Or you can look to invest that money. Right now is a beautiful time. If you're in a situation where you have your emergency fund set up, you're okay financially, you didn't lose your job or haven't been furloughed, then I would say you may want to consider some other avenues. But I wanted to reach out to you guys. We won't make this a long one. I just wanted to say, everybody, I'm absolutely praying, and hopefully, if you're a believer, you guys are too, not only for ourselves and our family and friends, but for everybody to push through this. Use this as an opportunity to, if you're at home and you have a family, oftentimes families don't spend this amount of time together. If you are blessed enough to be able to work from home, or unfortunately if you've been furloughed or laid off, really take advantage of this time and make that connection with your family and play board games and share laughs. Don't dominate that time with just watching Netflix and posting stuff on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube about what you're watching and this, that, and the third, but really take that opportunity to connect with your family, because we don't realize that, unfortunately, here in America, the average American, we're at work, and when we are working, more than we're actually at home. So really take that time to connect, make those calls, FaceTime people that, family members and friends and loved ones. But take advantage of that time, because, again, moving forward, eventually we will get through this and we'll be right back to the grind, right? So a lot of that free time that we have is gone. In addition to that, on the topic of you having a lot of time, or at least a little bit more time, because we're staying at home. Hopefully you are staying at home. Um, you could take a portion of that money, especially, and this is if you have your 3 to 6 months worth of emergency funds saved up. Take some of those funds and invest in yourself, whether it's buying books, whether it's go ahead and take a course to learn another language, or take a course to help you in your career path. Me, I'm starting to read books. I'm not in HR, but, just, and I'm not promoting these books by any means, but just showing you what I've been sort of diving into. But building value for yourself. Making YouTube videos or starting a side hustle. Or again, going back to education, that's always a calculated investment into yourself, and that's what it's all about. Take advantage of the time that you have to not just worry, but ensure we're taking full advantage of this opportunity. Invest in yourself. Whatever it is that you was thinking about doing. I'm taking out projects and stuff that I needed to get done a while ago. Take this time to get that stuff taken care of, and then. Once again, if you can connect with family or friends, please, I highly encourage you to do that. But again, just to reiterate everything, with your first step should be if you've lost your job or got furloughed or your hours dropped considerably, reach out to your local unemployment office. Make sure that you consistently, it may be a scenario where you have to continue to keep trying to apply, stay on there, have the perseverance, have the patience to go ahead and make sure you get that application in and submitted. From there, moving to the relief checks. For both of those checks, we sort of broke down what that looks like. You have to be under $75,000 a year for a single person, a single adult, and if you're married or in a relationship for a couple, and of course this will just be married when it comes to the IRS, but for a married couple, you would get $2,400, and then in both scenarios, it's going to be $500 per child. If you have a child. But again, just practicing stewardship, saving that money. If you don't have your emergency fund in place, your singular focus should be to get the necessity and save and hold on to the rest of that money. Get yourself on a budget. Look at ways that you can cut out expenses immediately, right after you reach out to and apply for unemployment, even if you still have your job and things have just gotten tight, or you're in a scenario where your hours have fallen tremendously. Again, you still want to reach out to the unemployment office, but reach out to all your creditors. Reach out to, again, federal debt. The interest accrued has stopped effective immediately, and that'll extend for 60 days. If you're in a situation where you can't make those payments, reach out to your whoever has your student loans and communicate that, because I think that's the misconception. The only thing automatic, again, about that is that for everybody with those federal student loans, the interest stops, but your payment is still expected. And a lot of people just assume that they're going to stop people's payment, but you have to reach out not only for the federal student loans, but as well your other debts that you may have, and communicate the scenario so that you may be surprised in terms of how flexible they're going to be understanding what's going on in the world. Moving from that, getting yourself on a budget if you're not already, looking for ways to cut back again, and looking for every single opportunity to hold on to that money. At the end of this, once this passes, and we push through that uphill battle, the money that you have left over, again, continue to use that as your 3 to 6 month worth emergency fund. Of course, you got to calculate that based on what the household says and how much debt you have and what you have going out every month. But use that as the start of a true 3 to 6 months worth of emergency fund.
It's a beautiful morning at Dunder Mifflin, as I like to call it, Great Bratton. Keep it running.
Guys, again, reach out to the loved ones, family and friends, and let them know you love them and you're thinking about them, and check on them just to make sure everything's all right. But man, I appreciate you taking the time to check out my video. Again, I will leave the links in the description for the video Money Matters that I did with my sister, as well as the CNBC calculator and the IRS.gov calculator, so you can hop on there and see exactly what you can expect to get. With that said, good people, have any questions or concerns or things that you want answers to or things that you would like to see me touch on, please, please, please comment down below. If you haven't already, good people, go ahead and like and subscribe. Subscribe so you don't miss any videos, and you can check me out. If I'm not that annoying to you, then this relationship may work out after all. But until then, please be safe. Keep not only yourself in mind, but your family, friends, and loved ones. Until next time, guys, I love you guys. Be safe, and we'll get through this all together.